Good morning, ladies and gents. It's Nick at Optima PS. As ever, thank you very much for coming back to my channel. I do apologise. I've been away the last couple of weeks. I've been down with a bit of a bug, so I didn't think you'd want to hear me snivelling all over your YouTube screen. So yeah, here I am. I'm back, and I just wanted to reach out today. There's a lot of fear in the markets again. We've had a bad day the last couple of days, apparently. I say apparently because I'm looking here at the prices, and yeah, there's a couple of 24-hour losses here, right? Bitcoin's down 3.3, Ethereum nearly 4%. You go down through the list. Solana's lost about 6%, but from, remember, a very high price. XRP's dropped off 3%. Again, as far as I'm concerned, buy. It's more buying opportunities, right? But I did want to address it because I'm seeing a lot of negativity out there again, and I just want to try and put a few things in perspective from a traditional finance point of view. And it sounds really crazy because in the traditional finance space, we're guys who are, presumably scared to death of these big volatile swings in the markets. It's the crypto guys that are used to all this, right? But I still see the fear out there, and I don't see it out there in the traditional space the same because it comes down to experience. Before I get into that, just to say, as ever, I am a financial advisor. I think you guys are all aware of that now, but I'm absolutely, most definitely not your financial advisor. The reason I'm not your financial advisor is because we've done no paperwork, you've signed no forms to say that I am, so I don't know anything about you. I couldn't possibly even begin to give financial advice. So anything I say or do in this video is purely a guy sharing his own opinions on the internet, but it's absolutely not financial advice to you personally or anyone out there. And as ever, if you do like what I have to say today, please do like and subscribe to the channel. A, it tells me that people actually enjoy what I have to say, or at least have an interest in what I have to say. And B, it does help me out. So I'm always really grateful if you can do that for me. So getting on to today's video, like I say, there's a lot of fear mongering out there, a lot of FUD out there in the world. I'm constantly on Twitter, as I'm sure you're aware. It's my biggest pastime now, I'd imagine. I never thought I'd get to that point, but I do enjoy the space. And I'm seeing an awful lot of people out there with fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I've seen a lot of people saying things like, if we don't recover this time, I'm selling my holdings, or I'm going to sell these coins and swap them for these ones, and take a chill pill, relax. As far as anyone in the world who's ever worked in investment is concerned, the worst thing you can do is panic in a time of market instability, if that's indeed what we're in. Because quite frankly, we're in the cryptocurrency space. The markets are always in periods of uncertainty. They're always wobbling. They're up and down like a yo-yo. Yes, there's a lot of people who believe we should be in a bull run by now. The Bitcoin halving has happened, and lots of people go, and now we should be going up to the roof. Guys, that's because you're new to the space. It's because you haven't done your research. Typically, after a Bitcoin halving, we have about a 6-month period of volatility where it normally goes down a bit first. This is absolutely normal. It's not unusual. It's nothing out of the ordinary. Things are doing exactly what I expected them to do. You're listening to the wrong people if you think that we should be seeing prices go through the roof right now. I'd like them to. I'd be over the moon if they did. But that's not where we are. That's not where we're at. The cycles that come along with any investment world, they as the old saying goes, they don't mirror each other, but they do rhyme. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. We've seen this before. We see it every single time. It's nothing to be worried about. I mean, I wanted to take you through to something today because I want you to have a look at this chart now. So this is a chart that shows a huge drop-off in the markets. If you think that looks similar to the chart we saw on this weekend, so it's Saturday morning for me, the big drop-off was Friday in the US, I guess. We saw this big crash. If you think this looks similar, this is actually a time known as Black Monday, or Black Tuesday, depending where you are in the world because of the time differences. But Black Monday was one of the biggest stock market crashes in history, I guess. At its time, it was the biggest one for a number of decades. People panicked. Some people killed themselves. It was the worst thing that had happened to many people. It was one of those strange times. It was 1987 when the normal everyday man was just finding out that they could actually invest in the stock markets, and it wasn't just for the ultra elite rich people. People had their mortgages backed on stock market based investments, which was a huge mistake, to be fair. But that's what they did, and people got scared, people got concerned, people panicked, and this price dropped from here down here, which was about, I think, 25% at the worst point, but it finished about 20% down in a day. And this wasn't the crypto world where people know it's volatile. This was the real financial world. This was the S&P 500, the Dow Jones. This was the FTSE in the UK. It was the global markets. I was about to say the Euro stocks, but of course there wasn't any Euro stocks back then. But this was your major stock markets, and there's a lot of reasons why this happened. There were new market strategies coming out that are not dissimilar, I think, to the ETFs of this world today. I'm not a huge fan of ETFs for various reasons, but the number one is that ETFs are a very easy and simple way to allow people who've never invested before to invest for cheap. Cheap is great, but what happens with cheap is you don't pay people like me to pick up the phone, give you a call when you're about to panic and sell your holdings on a day like this when you're 25% down and say, calm your tits, mate, to use a Manchester phrase. Calm down, don't panic, don't worry. Things will bounce back. And they did bounce back, right? Within a few months, we were halfway back up. Let's take a zoom out on this. This was the worst thing that had happened to the market in decades. October 1987, the worst thing that had happened in decades. Let's zoom out. 1989, we were easily back up above. It took a couple of years to get back up. This was a huge thing. Probably the closest you would have in more recent times would be the financial crisis. It was a devastating drop in the markets to a similar effect. Let's zoom out. Can you still see it? Can you still see it? Right? It's the tiniest of tiny blips on the map now. This was the dot-com. This was the financial crisis. This one, I don't even know what this is, but did we even give a shit? Did we even give it a name? It's bigger. It's phenomenally bigger. We didn't even give this thing a name. This is how the world works. Don't panic. Don't worry. The markets are what the markets are. The only time people will be panicking about these markets is a lack of understanding and education. And that's not your fault. You're new in the game. So, this is perhaps someone should have explained this before you started putting money in. But if you're new to the industry, you're new to the game of investing your money, then listen to people who've been there before. Don't panic. If the only reason for your panic is that there's panic out there, there's FUD out there in the sector, in the online media side of things, then don't panic, because this doesn't apply to you if that's the only problem you have. The other reason is if you're overexposed. And overexposure is a problem, overinvested, whatever you want to call it. If you are overinvested, then every time the market wobbles, you will panic. Every time the market picks up, you'll have this huge sense of euphoria. And what it really means is you've got too much skin in the game. Plain and simple. And I'm not here to tell anyone how much you should or shouldn't invest. To one guy, too much skin in the game is $1,000, $100. To another guy, it might be $10 million. Your number is your number. You know you have too much skin in the game if you sit there praying and hoping that the markets go in the direction you want them to go in. Because let me tell you, markets never ever only go in the direction you want them to go in. In the grand scheme of things, you'll probably see them go upwards. Let's take a look at this one. So this is Black Monday. If we take a look at this chart, yes, markets eventually go up. They go upwards. That's what happens over time. So there's our Black Monday again. Oh, sorry, you can't see, I don't think, on the screen. But if you take a look down in between 1985 and 1990 at the bottom there, Black Monday is the tiny dip you can see that isn't even comparable with some of the charts now. The one I was referring to before, I forget that you can't always see my screen with the cursor. You might see this cursor, I'm not sure, but it's up here. It's sort of 2021. I guess that would have been, no, this would be the pandemic here, right? Pandemic would be at the start of 2020. I don't even know what that is. I don't even think we gave it a name. We don't give a shit. It was the start of 2022 when the fear about inflation was kicking in, when the rising interest rates came in. It's a blip in the ocean now, and this was so much bigger than all these others. We don't even care. This is how the world moves. It's how things go. But if you are overexposed, and every time you see these blips, you panic because there may be a chance that you need your money out soon. If you need your money out, if something bad happens in life and you don't have a penny in the bank in savings, then you are in trouble. If you have to have a month off work and you don't have any insurance to cover it, or any contractual basis that covers it, if you have to go to hospital for an operation, you're not covered with insurance. If you can't afford to pay your mortgage because you've lost your job, there's 1,000 reasons why you might need to fall back on some money. And if all your money is in these markets, please don't take this the wrong way, but that was a foolish move. I'm not going to call you a fool. I'm going to say that was a foolish move because the simple fact of the matter is life throws us curveballs all the time, and we should never have all our money in the markets. I've looked at the markets the last couple of weeks and nearly bought 3 or 4 occasions. I'm a big XRP guy, as I'm sure you all know. When XRP drops below 50 cents, I normally buy. These last couple of times I've looked at it, I've looked at my bank account. I can afford it. I always have about 3 to 6 months spending money in the bank. I've got other investments as well that are easily liquid and far more profitable than my crypto portfolio or some of my crypto portfolio at the moment. But I just looked at it and I thought, you know what? I don't need to put more skin in this game right now. I'm happy with the size of my bags. If I throw $1,000 into my crypto portfolio now, I'm affecting the eventual outcome by less than 1%, I guess. So it's something you weigh up yourself. You look at it and you go, where do I most need? Do I need to make another 1% or another, whatever the gain would be on an extra 1% holding in my portfolio? Or do I want to have money in the bank just in case things don't go to plan in the next 3 to 6 months? I've just booked a week in Phuket, right? So that's money that might have gone into crypto instead. I'm happy with my choice. If you are overexposed and you have every last penny, and even if you don't think you are, you're the person who sees the market goes down 3% in a day and you panic like fuck. Excuse my language, you panic. You panic like hell because it makes a huge difference to your comfort zone, to your backup plan. If you think you have to take money out of crypto for any reason other than positively closing down trades to make yourself a nice, healthy profit, then I think you're overexposed. Now, that's not to say everyone shouldn't be a little bit exposed. Like we need to feel the pinch. We want to make sure we're going to see great gains when the world goes up. We want to be exposed to this market. But in the same respect, if you're that guy who sits there praying at night that you need markets to recover because you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay your bills next month, you're overexposed. And that's where I think this panic comes from. It's not your fault. People come into these sectors with very little experience, with no real guidance, and you see something that everyone on Twitter is saying, this is going to go through 100x this year. You'd be a fool not to jump in with every last penny, right? You're a fool to jump in with every last penny. I don't mean that personally. It's a foolish move. Once you've been through 2 or 3 of these cycles, you'll be better educated from self-learned lessons, and there's no better lesson than one you've learned yourself. Personal experience is the way to go, but try to keep yourself a small protection barrier in the bank, under the mattress, in your safe, wherever that might be, where if the shit hits the fan and this market goes down for the next 24 months, you are still covered. I don't think that's going to happen. We're in a bull market. We're at the beginnings of a bull market, at least. The Bitcoin halving has occurred. I think 6 months from now, markets are going to be going bonkers in a really, really positive way. But they might not. And if they don't, I've got enough money in the bank to cover myself. If they don't, have your emergency fund tucked to one side in something really boring like a savings account in the bank that doesn't even beat inflation, but is there and easily accessible, and then you won't panic. And once you've got that, by the way, then you're comfortable throwing in whatever's left of your paycheck every single month because you've already taken care of the basics, the emergency fund, you've done it. So I don't care if I get paid $10,000 this month, my life costs me about 3 or 4, and I'll put the rest into crypto. I don't care because I've already covered those bases. I've already got those protection barriers in place, so I can throw in what I want. Make sure you're that guy. Make sure you're in that position, because then things like Black Monday down here, this tiny little blip between 1985 and 1990, If you can see me circling it there, I'm circling it. That will not make you panic. That will not make you. People sold their homes. People sold their cars. People killed themselves on the back of this because they thought life was never going to be the same again. It doesn't even register as a bad day as time goes by. Yes, these things are all relative. At the time, that was a big drop compared to this relatively smooth line you see before it. It was a big drop. This drop that we see here will be a smooth line. This one that we're going to see at some point in the next year or two will be a smooth line when we zoom out in 30 years' time, 40 years' time. But the point is, make sure you've got your emergency funds in place and these things won't bother you. You'll be the guy who watches everyone else panic sell and jumps in and buys this dip in 1987 and makes yourself a fortune by the year 2000. With the crypto world, it's far faster than that. It's far more volatile than that. Buy the dips by all means, but buy the dips with what you've got spare. That's my only lesson for today. Guys, I really appreciate you listening. I've been rambling on for 16 minutes, so I don't want to go anymore. Hopefully that message came through loud and clear. If you do like what I had to say, please do like and subscribe to the channel. By all means, share my videos on YouTube. That would be greatly appreciated as well. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best. Good luck. Any questions, drop in the comments box, and we'll speak soon. Thanks, and have a great weekend. Nick.